Are you wondering if you should create a group coaching program? In today's video, I'm going to talk about the things you want to think about and have in mind when you do decide to create a group coaching program, and how you can decide if now is the right time to do that. This is a question I get often asked by coaches, and a lot of new coaches wondering, should I jump in? Should I create a group program? Should I create some sort of program where people just go and they do it on their own? Should I start with one-on-one? Where should I start? And so I'm going to answer those questions in this video and let you know the things that you really want to have in place when you do decide to start a group coaching program. So just to get started, when do I think is the right time to start a group coaching program? And I have worked with hundreds of health coaches, helping them start and grow their businesses. And I have started and grown a health coaching business myself. And so I have experience, and I've definitely seen what works and what doesn't work. And so when it comes to starting a group program, the thing that I often recommend is to start once your one-on-one program is filled. Okay, and why is because at this point, you're going to be better at coaching, okay? A lot of times people think they're not super confident in their coaching, and so they think by doing a group or like a do it on their own program and by selling that, they can kind of skip over this hurdle of feeling uncomfortable with coaching. And what I want you to know is if you want to be a coach and you want to be providing powerful transformation in people's lives, you need to work with a number of people to get good at coaching and to really understand the process of helping people make that transformation in their lives. So you do really want to wait until your one-on-one is full, and then I do believe that it's time to start a group program at that point because you're at capacity, you can't bring on more people. Obviously, this is not a rule and that's like what you have to do, but it's what I find often works best for coaches. So the other reason why I would recommend waiting until your one-on-one is full is because at that point, you've walked a number of people through your program one-on-one. You've gotten feedback. You've seen them go through that process. You see what works, what doesn't work. You've maybe been able to create handouts or suggest homework or reading, the things that are going to really help that person make that transformation. And the best way to do this is by actually walking someone through a program and following them through that transition. And when you're doing a group program, you're not really able to see this because you have a whole bunch of people going through it. And so you're not really able to learn what's working and what's not to refine your program. So you really want to be able to walk a few people through this process so that you can see what's working, what's not working, what you have to change in your program and refine it before you would launch a group program. Okay, super important. And I have a video on this where I specifically go into this, where I go into how to create a program and really take yourself through the scientific method to see if your program is good or if you need to make changes. And so I have another video on that, and I will link that below this video. The other thing I would love to hear from you in the comments, do you feel really confident and clear about the program, your program, and the process that you walk your clients through to get the transformation that they want, okay? Do you? Let me know in the comments. And if not, why? And if so, why do you feel good about that? Have you walked people through the program and seen the transformation? Okay, a really important thing to know and to think about. So the next step is knowing how to sell. And I think it's much easier to learn how to sell to one person than to learn how to sell to many people and to a group. And often we think it may be the other case, and we think that if I'm offering a group program, I'm offering it potentially at a lower price point and it's easier to sell. And I can tell you this right now, it's not. I actually have, a lot of times I tell people to go and get some practice in the beginning if they're not confident in their coaching, and to go even get some free clients. And they think because they're offering something for free that it's going to be super easy. They're going to have people lining up that want to coach with them. And often this isn't the case. You actually have to even sell free coaching, okay? So just because something is free or at a lower price point does not mean that it's super easy to sell. It really goes into learning the messaging, learning who your ideal client is and how to speak to them and how to understand how to communicate what it is you do from a marketing perspective, from the perspective of your ideal client and what they're looking for, and presenting it as a solution to their problem. And I do think it's much easier to learn how to do that one-on-one and through selling. And you learn even like what people's objections are for moving forward and how to overcome those objections. Because when you go from selling one-on-one to selling in a group, you still have to do all those things. You still have to sell. You still have to overcome objections. You're just doing it on a group level or for multiple people. So it's essentially more complicated as opposed to doing it for one person. So I think that that's another super important reason why it's good to start with one-on-one coaching. And the other thing that I would say is that through coaching one-on-one, you learn how to hold space for your clients. You learn how to show up as the leader and be able to walk your clients through that process. And as a group, you're doing that for multiple people as opposed to just one person. And so once again, I think it's a good practice to start doing that with one person before you have to hold space for a whole group of people, because there is a learning curve there. And I do think you have to work on yourself and your own mindset and to be able to hold the space for one person, much less like a group of people, okay? So the other piece why I do recommend starting with one-on-one, waiting until you fill up your one-on-one and moving on to a group program is because if you start in the beginning and you want to create a group program, often you don't have the people to fill the group. Unless you already have a pre-existing following, people who have been following you, your ideal client, they're interested in what you're talking about, then yes, you may have the audience to fill up a group program. But if you don't have an existing audience, who are you going to put into the group program, right? So it's much better to start one-on-one and you can fill up your one-on-one spots. And then once you've built your following and you have that community of people who are interested in working with you, then you can open up the group program and be like, yeah, I have a group, and you can fill those spots, okay? But in the beginning, if you don't have a community and you don't have a following, filling up a group program is challenging because you just don't have the people to put into the group. So once again, it makes sense to start with the one-on-one, fill up those spots, and then move on to the group. So the other thing that I want to talk about is just even the technology and the money that it takes to run a group. Just a little bit more complicated than it is to do one-on-one. One-on-one, like you really don't need to invest much money at all into your business, and technologically, like it's very simple. You don't really even need anything to work with people one-on-one. But in a group, typically you need a bit more. You need like a membership site and just a little bit more technology even to sell the group typically than you do to just work with people one-on-one. So I think that's another piece just to keep in mind as well, is having the financial resources to put into building up like a group and the things you'd have to do to launch that and run it versus just one-on-one. And then the last thing I want to talk about is where people get stuck when it comes to wanting to launch programs. And often what we think we need to do is develop a whole program. So people think like, oh, I'm going to develop this whole group program and then I'm going to go and launch it. And what I want you to know is actually when you do launch a group program or a one-on-one program, you actually want to sell it and then create it, okay? So it's often a sneaky way for us to stay hidden by saying, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna create this whole program, and then after it's totally done, then I'm gonna sell it and then I'm gonna launch it. And as you heard me say before, you actually learn how to create the program and what to be adding and what to change by walking people through it. So if you spend all this time creating this program and you've never actually coached anyone, you've never actually walked them through the process, you're creating something in a vacuum. You're creating something that you haven't tested out. You haven't actually walked anyone through it. And so even if you do create a group program, you don't create the whole program and then sell it. You sell it and then you create it as you go because you see what's working, what's not, where people are needing support. And then you can change it as you're going or kind of develop it as you're going. And then once again, obviously you reflect after the program is done, you see what worked, what didn't, and you make changes. So that is why I do think it's much easier to start with the one-on-one, and you just learn so much through that process. And then to go on and create the group program. Obviously, this is not a rule, but this is just what I've seen works better and the reasoning behind. So if you have been thinking about, oh, should I start a group program or, something that people can just do on their own, I would really think about like your intentions as far as why you're doing that. Are you hiding and waiting and creating content and then going out there? Are you avoiding learning how to do sales? Are you not feeling very confident in your coaching? Like, have really good intentions as far as you like the reason why you're doing something when you do it. So super important to keep in mind. So I hope you found this video helpful and it gave you some insight as far as starting a group program and when's really a good time for you to do it. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up. And if you want more videos like this, I do new videos every week. So you can subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and you'll get a notification each time I post a new video. So I also want to share a free resource that I have for you that I think you will find super helpful. It's a training I made that walks you through the steps you need to take to start making money and getting consistent clients as a health coach. So if you're interested in that training, I have the link below this video. You can sign up, watch it. I know you're gonna find it super helpful. The other thing, if you're interested in getting support and working with me to help you set up and run a successful health coaching business, I'd love to speak with you about that. I have a link below this video and you can sign up for a free business breakthrough session with me. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video, and I will see you next week.